Hey guys, Sam here, just giving you a quick breakdown of three tickers that if you put $100 in these, I think you're going to be very happy. MEDP, CLS, and Tesla. Don't rush off and buy these without looking at the news and the setup as I show you some charts. You can, I'm just saying, this could help. So let's start with MEDP, just because it's the most sort of off the radar one. They did have these Q2 earnings. Revenue was $600 million, and that's up over 14% year over year. Earnings per share of $3.10, which was higher than consensus. So the earnings were good, and the EBITDA margin came in above 20%. It's pretty solid. Full year revenue guidance is above $2 billion. This is a big company, but it's enough off the radar that I still think there's a lot of room to grow here. Now, you want to be a little bit careful with these stocks during the earnings season. You can see that if you play like a high volume close setup on this, you actually can't do so because it sold off below that level. If you want to know what a high volume close is, it's just a lot of volume, which you can see there is comparatively to the other days. And that close is a really good risk level. So if it goes above that level, you can use that level as support because people will likely have bought below that level. Now, there's also some options exercised recently. So you got to be a little bit careful with options flow. Don't get too into that. But the fact that their revenue guidance is $2 billion, they obviously have contracts in place and a backlog. I wouldn't say that just because the president exercised options that you want to sell out of that. But I'm just saying that because the revenue is so strong, there's growth through the future. The factor that the high volume close has actually not been exceeded, the stock is below that level. And the fact that the options flow does include some insider activity are all factors here, with the options flow being the least important factor. That's what I'm trying to say. So the momentum case is strong with the earnings beat and the raised guidance. So if this gets back over this level, which is about 450, you could say really it's about 480 for the actual close of this day. If you have an account bigger than, say, 10 million, you definitely want to be looking for this. Or if you want to trade like you do, so you're ready once you get there, you want to wait for it to get about 480. So that's MEDP. CLS, strong Q2 earnings as well here. Again, earnings reactions have been a little rocky after the initial move, but their revenue was almost $3 billion, up 20% year over year. Earnings per share of $1.82. And this is showing not GAAP earnings per share. This is just unadjusted. So don't worry about that. The management is talking about operating margins and profitability, and analyst estimates are getting higher and higher. So we don't live off price upgrades, but we do notice them when they get put out. It's the story of this stock is that there's high volume electronics customers. And what we're talking about here is basically this is the underbelly for OpenAI, essentially, and its competitors. Not just Meta, NVIDIA, AMD. This is like the backbone of data centers that no one is talking about, CLS. And if I just scroll down on the news here on Thinkorswim, you can see Thinkorswim is the Schwab software. They're basically living and dying off of, not necessarily just tariffs, but how big companies like NVIDIA and AMD respond to tariffs. For example, today they had the announcement that 15% of NVIDIA and AMD sales are going to go to the government in exchange for basically a break on tariffs. So that all gets passed through to companies like CLS, which are electronic and communication. This is the leader in that category. So as long as NVIDIA and AMD are strong, which they are right now, and as long as CLS has real revenue, which they do, it's going to do well. Now, for a company that's a little more on everybody's radar, it's Tesla. Okay, you can see I took a long here over this level. I still think it's a good buy, especially if it pulls back a little. At the end of the day, it's basically been on a tear the last couple of days. And if we look further, you can see that that's not something that, it generally does have pullbacks. If we look back, there will be opportunities to buy. Goes up a couple of days and then has a pullback, something like that. Now, the news for Tesla is Q2, right? Q2 earnings were here. And it's been rocky, but they have higher supercharging volumes. The vehicle deliveries were not great. They're shutting down Dojo, their superconductor, and moving to an A16 chip strategy. So them not having everything in-house was a little bit of a rocky news cycle, but they're coming out of the Elon-Trump relationship breakup. They're coming out of the robotaxi rollout hiccups. They're coming out of a lot of choppy news-driven action. And once this thing breaks, people are going to be excited about Tesla again because it's been a while. This is all the way back in May and April. That while the rest of the market has really exploded, you can see here this green overlay in the background, and stocks like NVIDIA have been at the head of that explosion. Tesla has really not done so due to all the Elon-related news and the delivery numbers and the FSD videos. So people are going to want to get into Tesla, not just institutions and big funds, but retail is going to get excited about them again. So I got in. They do have some moves into energy in the UK. They're talking about opening up robotaxi access. And when I talk about energy in the UK, I'm talking about maybe they can do some battery cycling, using their batteries to help smooth the power grid, things like that, that are not their core business, but do drive excitement in the stock. So anything they can do to expand beyond the spotlight being just on their vehicles, which again have a lot of negative press right now. We start talking about humanoids again. We start talking about these battery usages besides just your car vehicle battery. There's going to be excitement about Tesla again. So I'm in, and that's the level above this breakout level 335. So those are the trades. Those are the stocks that you could trade. It's up to you. MEDP, post earnings momentum, raised guidance, a lot of volume here, holding up. And I wouldn't just say that you want to jump into MEDP blindly. I mean, if you're deep in basically fundamental stock analysis, maybe you read more into recent news, you read more into where basically these earnings are coming from and what's likely to happen in the future. But if you're mainly a technical investor, which most people, if we're being honest, are, and it's probably actually better to be a technical investor in most cases, you can basically just look at the news a little bit, but mostly look at how the stock is moving, and you can be pretty much guaranteed that you're getting 90% of the information that's leading to the stock move anyway. Again, if you are a little bit of a fundamental investor, you can look at, for example, these other names. Besides MedPace, you could look at PBM. No pun intended, right? Everyone talks about PBMs, but this is actually the ticker. And another one that is often on people's radar is, I think, AMIX. But again, if you're deep in biotech, you don't need me to point out tickers. You already know the tickers. But if you're just looking for a stock to put $100 or $100,000 or whatever your, 10% of your portfolio in, or whatever your risk tolerance is, MEDP is at the top of that list, along with CLS, due to it being the backbone for AI stocks. And the level for CLS is probably something like 212. You can see I haven't taken a position in it yet. I chose Tesla instead. And you can see exactly where I bought Tesla, and I gave you the level for that. So leave a ticker, leave a comment, leave anything that helps this channel improve, because this channel's for you. I will see you in the next one. Like and subscribe if you like. Subscribe if you want to see more. It'll pop right up on your homepage, more likely than if you just watch it. Don't quote me on that, but I think that's the point of subscriptions. Otherwise, why would YouTube still have them, right? Take care, and you guys are awesome.